Have you ever found yourself in a yoga class and been cued to take a pose or a variation of a pose and think, there is no way I can do that? Well, for a lot of people, binding poses fall into this category. So today we will talk all about these poses, the benefits of them, some tips and modifications to help make them more accessible in different bodies, in different level poses, which I will be demonstrating inside after our little chat out here. So tune in to this video if this interests you, if you want to deepen your yoga practice and learn more about it. Thank you for joining me here on Yoga with Paige, where today we talk all about binding yoga poses. These ones feel super different in every body. So a bind is technically where you grab hands, you grab wrists, or any part of the forearm, and you kind of wrap yourself around your body. So as you can imagine, these poses require a lot of flexibility, mobility, and an open front body. So this is where this is kind of tricky for a lot of people, especially if we have kind of posture corrections, difficulties, if we kind of slump over. This is great for desk workers. These poses really help to open you up and kind of reverse that posture. But also, it depends on your anatomical setup. So your wingspan will kind of determine how accessible these postures can be for you. If you have a shorter wingspan, you might not be able to reach, and not because of a lack of flexibility or mobility, but just simply your arms are a little bit shorter, or your shoulders just kind of don't rotate that way in the socket. As we all know, every body is unique, and that is why we'll be talking about ways to modify and gradually progress into these poses if you want to include them into your practice. I do want to say these postures are really good as well to keep an open and flexible mind. These postures require a different sense of concentration and body awareness. So these poses are really good to help you build body awareness and learn your unique body, because these binds require a lot of self-adjustment to find the correct little spot that works for you. So this is a great time to explore your body, get to know yourself, and truly dive deeper into your practice by diving deeper into your body. So let's get started with some of the great benefits. So we'll begin with the physical kind of benefits first. And if you guessed it, a lot of these binds and twists help your digestive system because they are massaging your internal organs as you twist and move around, especially if you're reaching kind of in a different way than you normally do in a nice seated twist. You might find yourself in a different viewpoint, a different little tweak here or there. You can feel it in different areas of your abdomen, which helps to massage all of the internal organs, helps to kind of wring them out, the liver, the kidneys, all of that, and really helps to detoxify, helping to eliminate, process your food, definitely helping to wash everything out. These poses are also great for increasing your blood flow when you get out of them. So while we're in these poses and you're kind of contracting your body, certain areas of your body might get decreased amount of blood flow. So for a short period of time, they're not getting as much blood flow as you contract. But once you release and open up, all that blood rushes back to those areas that were compressed, leaving you with a fresh sense of blood flow, and it can really help to increase the vitality and health of those organs as they are getting a really rush of blood and oxygen, and it really helps to improve the function of those organs. And as we talked already about the digestive masseuse of the organs, it does help to detoxify the body, because as your liver and your kidneys are responsible for eliminating waste, when we go through and help our digestive system, we are in effect enhancing this process, speeding it up a little bit. So you are truly helping yourself detoxify and eliminate any waste products from the body, whether that just be your food that you are eating, or say you've consumed a few too many drinks the night before. Twists can really help you to eliminate these from your body quicker. So eliminating toxins, the next time you have a slight little hangover, if you're feeling okay, maybe try a few little twists and binds to help kind of wring it out and flush it out even quicker. Psychologically speaking, these postures can actually have more of a profound effect on your mental state than you might think. So first and foremost, we already mentioned the concentration aspect. When you are fully immersed in the feeling of your body and making these minor adjustments to find what feels good to you in these poses, you are really concentrating on your body. And this act of concentration can breed stress reduction as well. As you are breathing, focusing on yourself, tuning out the world, it can kind of get you into a little state of a meditative flow, feeling your breath and your body moving in conjunction with it, feeling more synchronized to yourself. We already mentioned this one as well, enhanced body awareness. I am a big proponent for this. I feel like if you know yourself really well, that opens the doors to so many more things for you. Knowledge of other people, helping your relationships, helping your work environment, helping all of these things. Because if you know yourself and you get to know how you work psychologically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically, it can really help you to kind of work with your strengths and not dive so much into your weaknesses, or kind of learn how to combat your inherent weaknesses by using your strengths. So by taking this time to feel your body and move carefully, make these minor adjustments, you notice what is going on in your body, what feels good, what doesn't feel good. And especially when we're talking about poses where we bind with the arms, like one behind and one in front of the back, like cow face pose, you can start to notice as you practice these over time, you start to notice the difference maybe in your sides. Because although we try to balance everything out, we are not balanced. We will never be perfectly symmetrical, perfectly balanced. It's just the way our bodies are. You know, we have some different organs on different sides and things like that. We use one hand more than the other, so one will be stronger than the other. But having this sense of body awareness, over time you can notice the differences in your body and use those to your advantage, especially when we're talking about warming up. Warming up is a big part of practicing these binds. We want to make sure that we have a nice warmed up body, and we will get to that in a little bit. But you can start to tailor your warm-ups if you know you are practicing a specific binding class. For instance, say you're taking one with me and you know we'll be doing a lot of binds. And if you've been practicing your body awareness and you know, say your right shoulder is more tight on the external rotation, then you can hone in your warm-up and focus more on warming up through that right shoulder for external rotation versus internal rotation. So this is just, I love this. I love body awareness. I want to promote more body awareness, and I think it is really a key benefit of these binding postures. You learn to kind of listen to yourself, your intuition. Your body will tell you where to stop, because these postures can be slightly discomforting. We can have a slight discomfort, which is okay as long as we don't have pain or major discomfort, which also helps with the concentration, breathing through that slight discomfort. But when we have that slight discomfort, sorry, I kind of lost my train of thought there for a second. When we have this slight discomfort, we know that that is the point that we dial it back, because we are not in competition with anybody else in the room. We are only here to practice for ourselves and find what feels good in every pose for your unique body. So the second that you start to feel that and you want to kind of tense up and hold your breath, or it just doesn't feel good, that's when we release a little bit, dial it back, maybe take a half bind or release it completely. So this is you listening to your body, understanding your body's cues and what it's trying to tell you, letting the ego go. It's really a twofold process, and I think that's so special to learn ourselves in that way. As we progress in these poses, we can also feel a sense of boosted confidence or self-esteem as, say, we practice a bind that we want to kind of have, and we just don't have the accessibility to it yet, or we just kind of want to try and progress to a certain point for ourselves. Over time, as you gradually progress, this can increase your feelings of confidence as you see yourself opening up and changing. This is what yoga is all about, watching this gradual process, knowing that even when we don't feel like we're making progress, we are. And that can feel really, really good, especially if you do end up hitting that milestone of, say, touching your fingertips in cow face pose. If you start using your strap and progress gradually to that point, it can feel really, really exhilarating that you worked hard for it, but listening to your body at the same time, not forcing anything. But that can feel really, really good. And hey, we can all use a little ego boost every now and then, right? Which leads me to another psychological benefit of kind of increasing your patience, especially if you are progressing and working through trying to kind of reach a little point for yourself. This can really take a while. These gradual poses, they may not even take, if you're thinking like weeks or even months, they may take years. We can, even if we're practicing consistently, daily, a few times a week, once a week, reaching some of these things can take years to achieve. So this is really where our patience comes in, where we don't attach ourselves to an end expectation. If we reach it, that's amazing, that's great. But really what we are trying to get to is enjoying the process of progressing, enjoying the process of growing our minds as we try to physically progress in a pose. So it's like that quote, it's not about the destination, it's all about the journey to get there. And that is another reason that I love these kind of poses that can challenge your body and your mind, really finding that yoga union together. So those are some of the physical and psychological benefits of binding poses in yoga. But I do want to say, as much as you practice something or as much as you want to achieve something, sometimes you might not ever get there. And that's okay. That is okay. Say we have a really, really short wingspan, or we are super tight, we have something else going on in our body. We may not ever completely bind our hands or be able to, and that's okay. We love ourselves anyway. This is where the no judgment comes in. We're not comparing ourselves. And this is where we begin to use our props. We have a yoga strap to help yourself reach. I will demonstrate this in a few minutes. We can use a yoga towel to help kind of bridge that gap, and we still get the same activation. We still get the same physical opening in the upper body by making these movements. Even if you're just here, you're still reaching the same areas as if you were in a full bind. So don't hate your body or hate yourself if you can't make it, because some people anatomically cannot. And sometimes if we have a really, really tense or tight upper body or chest, we have a lot of tension there, we might not be able to reach it either. So I just wanted to throw that out there. If you can't reach it, especially if you've been practicing and aspiring to reach it, find that love for yourself anyway. It is not about the end pose. It is all about the connection and the practice. That's why it's called a yoga practice, not yoga perfection. And before we get into the different level poses that I will show you, I do have 3 tips for your binds. So tip number 1, warm up properly. You could probably already guess that one. This one requires a lot of openness, a lot of flexibility, mobility. So practices of intense movements and stretches like sun salutations, cat-cow, puppy pose, threading the needle, even shoulder flossing, if you feel really, really tight or you need that extra little help, to open up the shoulders, gradually get them to the point where you're not forcing anything. This is the way to prevent injury. We don't want to injure ourselves. We want to practice with safety in mind, and that requires a proper warm-up. Number 2 is to kind of know the difference between internal and external rotation. So a lot of these binds will require one hand or one arm being up and the other being down. So this is 2 different kinds of rotation. So the arm that will be coming behind you is external rotation. As you are reaching around, you are rotating your shoulder away, external. While the other one is internal, so you're rotating your shoulder inwards. And if we know the differences, this is where the body awareness comes into play, where we start to feel what feels good and what doesn't. Maybe we feel better in internal rotation versus external, vice versa. Or like I said before, maybe we feel a little bit unbalanced. We have more openness in external rotation of our left shoulder versus our right. And this is okay, especially if you can reach a bind in one side and not the other. Don't force the other side just to try and balance yourself out. That's where the props come into play and where we push the ego aside. So kind of knowing what these differences are can help you in your progression of binds, like I said, as we warm up, and you can hone in and really focus on one area versus the other, or just a general warm up. So those 2 kind of go hand in hand, just knowing the basic general difference. We don't have to be anatomy majors to understand this in our bodies. And the more we practice, the more we will feel it. We'll just feel our shoulder. As you move, you can feel it rotating around. That's why we try to shift our awareness to, say, the upper back or the spine, to really focus your attention and feel what's going on there. And then the third one is to bridge the gap with a strap or a towel. I was trying to rhyme there. But if you can't reach, bridge the gap. And this may not mean that you will always need to use a towel or a strap. And I think this is a lot of times maybe why people don't want to use props, or they're embarrassed to use a prop. But it doesn't mean that you will always be there. It just means that maybe today or for the next 2 months, you may need just a little help with the accessibility. But that will help you deepen your practice more efficiently, more safely, and honestly, just better overall. Because if you're forcing yourself, you're more likely to injure yourself, and it's not going to feel as good. Even if you make it, probably won't be as happy as if you were using a strap or a yoga towel to help you bridge the gap, familiarize yourself with this feeling, how it feels in your body, and then as you progress and you can gradually kind of creep your fingertips closer, once you reach your fingertips, if you do, it'll feel better. It'll feel like you worked towards something, you worked with your body instead of against it, and I think you'll probably be happier overall. So don't be embarrassed to use a prop. And now, with that being said, let's go upstairs inside, and I will show you a few beginner, intermediate, and the only 2 advanced yoga binds I can do so that you can help pick your level of practicing and start incorporating these into your practice. All right, so we have switched up our location so I can demonstrate a few of these binding yoga postures for you. So beginning with beginners. Beginner posture, taking hands interlaced behind the back. And this can go for really any posture. We can do this just seated, taking the hands, thinking of sending the chest forward and the hands energetically down and back. So we're really opening up the fronts of the shoulders. We can also take this in a forward fold. We can do this, like I said, seated here in any seat. We can do it in a low lunge, a high lunge, a lot of different areas. So we also have the cow face pose, which is what I was talking to you about my example earlier. One arm up, one arm behind the back, bending both at the elbows, trying to reach for fingertips. So this arm behind me is externally rotated, and this arm is internally rotated, grabbing the fingers, and this is where we use a strap. So let me grab that for you. So we can use our strap or our towel to kind of bridge the gap, walking your hands down to the closest point that they meet. And they may be way up here. We may be able to progress our bind with these, and this is a great way to show your progression. And our last beginner pose that I was going to show you is our wide-legged forward fold with bound hands. So finding your wide-legged fold, again, interlacing the fingers behind the back, folding over, trying to reach the hands over the head as you release into the hips. And our second level is intermediate. So as we progress in our practice, we can start incorporating these kinds of binds into our practice. The first is moving from a nice traditional triangle pose into a bind. So bringing that hand behind the back. And again, we can stop here in this half bind, opening through the shoulder. We can wrap around trying to reach for the thigh, or we can take our full bind by lifting this arm in front, reaching it around and behind the thigh, and again, interlacing fingers. Making sure that we can breathe easy, keeping the chest nice and lifted, and knowing that we can always kind of dial it back if it becomes too much. We also have bound extended side angle. So coming from your extended side angle, again, same thing, wrapping the arm behind the back and finding here. This can also be a fun play if you have these poses to kind of move from one to the other. This really helps open the back of the leg. So the next pose, we can come from here, humble warrior. So taking from a nice warrior two, reaching the hands behind the back, ground down through that back foot. Inhale, and on your exhale, you bring the chest to the inside of the knee, sending the hands overhead. From here, I will show you a little bound side lunge, so Skandasana or a little side lunge. If we are comfortable here and we're comfortable in a nice big side bend, we can wrap the arms around and bind. And coming into from pigeon pose, we have a few different variations, especially in this pose. So we have our one-footed king pigeon or mermaid pose, which is placing this foot on the inside of the elbow, interlacing the hands. So this is still a bind, as we were talking about grabbing onto wrists or hands. We have a lot of variations here. We can grab the foot with the other hand and kind of reach the arm forward. A lot of ways to play in this pose. Switching up your arms, reaching behind you. A lot of ways to explore. We have one of my favorites, bound malasana. Finding your yogi squat first, and then coming from usually a little side bend, so opening up through the side body first, making our way there, and then deepening if that feels good. Always making sure to go through these steps to get there, and then making sure you gently release and don't rush yourself. So we also have a revolved forward fold. Now, a revolved forward fold, bending one knee, say the left, reaching the right arm up. This is our traditional revolved forward fold. We can bend the arm behind the back for a half bind, grab the thigh again, or reach around and try to thread underneath. Really taking the chest towards the legs and gently release. Finding a seat. The last one that I will show you for intermediate is our sage twist. So extending one leg like staff pose, planting the other, and binding around that leg. Now we're trying to reach the chest towards the straightened extended leg, but as you can see, this one is not the most accessible for me, and that's okay. So this is where I stop. There are many, many variations of these postures where we bend the leg, wrap around, reach behind, interlace this way, kind of scoot around so you can see, interlace this way, lifting up. Again, making sure to listen to your body and what it tells you. Now, I consider myself an intermediate practitioner, so a lot of the advanced binds I cannot do. They are not accessible to me yet. Maybe later in my practice, maybe not. But for now, I have two to show you. So the first one is a frog pose with a bind. So if you have accessibility, flexibility in your hips, and you can already reach your chest down, in frog pose, then you may be able to wrap the hands behind you and pull them up. And the last one is a standing bind that usually is accessible for me. So I have warmed up. I have worked out today, thoroughly warmed myself up for this demonstration. So we will see if I can do Bird of Paradise. And the easiest way that I've found to enter this posture, I'm taking my right leg up, is to bend my right knee, fold over, take the right arm, thread it underneath, left comes behind the back. Finding my bind first, for me, is easiest, and then gently lifting the right leg off, finding my balance, and eventually straightening the leg. This one especially taking your time and not extending too far if any of this hurts. So after showing you some of the different postures, if you would like to join me in some binding yoga fun, I will have a link to a class right here, as well as a few more in the description. But I do want to remind you that our yoga practice is all about our inner connection and how we feel. It's not about how you look or the most advanced shape you can make with your body. So with that, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for tuning in, and I look forward to meeting you on the mat.